Let's stay with this particular story and speak to our reporter, Qubudile Philip, who's been watching this particular inquiry for us throughout the day. Qubudile, of course, this issue of, the bribery claims was never not going to be touched on today. And it really looks to be quite a thorny issue that this inquiry is going to have to deal with if it is to continue.
Well, good afternoon to you, Bongiwe, and to the viewers at home. Of course, it doesn't come as a surprise that this matter has now actually hogged the discussions within this inquiry. Of course, it's not just the seriousness of the allegations, but also it involves somebody who is within this inquiry as well as the chairperson of that inquiry. So today, that as much as the proceedings were actually supposed to look into the evidence of Advocate Mkhwebane, but they were diverted, and the Advocate Mkhwebane immediately writing a letter to the committee indicating that she intends to bring a recusal application wherein she's going to be asking that the chairperson step aside on the allegations again that her husband had actually been extorted for money by, amongst other people, the chairperson of this committee, and therefore she feels that he may not be acting in fairness in terms of adjudicating on this treatment. So at the moment, the Advocate Mkhwebane has been asked by the committee if she does intend to bring this recusal application, she must give a written representation which must be submitted to the committee by Friday lunchtime. And the chairperson of the committee, Mr. Dyantyi, has actually indicated that he intends to respond to that application by Monday lunchtime. So as things stand now, the proceedings were adjourned for the day in order to give Advocate Mkhwebane the time to make that presentation for the committee. And therefore the committee is set to actually resume again on Friday morning, where the actual evidence is now going to be led by the evidence leaders, as well as Advocate Mkhwebane having the chance to actually respond to some of those questions. Bongi.
And Qubudile, it's also very interesting to see that once again, there's going to be another delay, most likely, if her issue of legal representation is again not dealt with and finalized.
Well, it's been the feature of this inquiry over the past months that there has been some impediments in terms of trying to have a smooth process. Of course, the latest, the recusal application, is just but one of many of possible things that could delay the work of this committee. Again, this morning, Advocate Mkhwebane has raised another issue relating to the legal representation. She's indicated that the new attorneys that were appointed on her behalf by the Office of the Public Protector, their employment has now been terminated by the Office of the Public Protector and replaced with state attorneys. And now you'll recall that much earlier in the process, Mkhwebane had actually indicated that she is opposed to being represented by the state attorneys, arguing that they may be conflicted. Now, if this issue of the legal representation is not sorted out anytime soon, you know that, again, Advocate Mkhwebane has a pending Constitutional Court application that is actually trying to enforce an earlier Constitutional Court ruling that she has a right to legal representation. Now, again, this issue of the legal representation might have an effect against her in terms of making those written representations for the recusal application, because according to how she sees things, she doesn't see herself having legal representation at this stage. Bongi?
So it doesn't sound like come Friday, those, arguments will then be made in writing to the chairperson. And one wonders, what happens then with the delays? Qubudile, I suspect it's going to be a long road ahead for you on this one. Thank you so much for giving us that update this afternoon. Do appreciate it. That was SABC News reporter, Qubudile Philip.